Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
There are losses that sting, and then there are losses that crawl under your skin, sit there, and refuse to leave. Last night was the latter. The kind of game that doesn't just end with a final score, but with jaws clenched, remotes thrown onto sofas, and fans staring at the ceiling asking how on earth that was allowed to happen. The Toronto Blue Jays didn't just lose a baseball game, they were dragged into another chapter of what is becoming an all-too-familiar story, where the men in blue don't just officiate the game, they dominate the narrative. And it's time someone talked about it properly. Welcome back to the Blue Jays Report, because today we need to vent, unpack, and calmly lose our minds all at once. Let me be absolutely clear from the very start, because nuance matters here. This is not the sole reason the Blue Jays lost yesterday's game. Their offense has been brutally inconsistent, painfully timid with runners in scoring position, and outright frustrating to watch. Championship teams don't rely on perfect umpiring to win games. They force the issue. But with that said, pretending that what happened yesterday didn't significantly alter the course of the game would be intellectual dishonesty. Two things can be true at the same time, and today we're going to live in that uncomfortable middle ground. The atmosphere going into that game felt heavy already. You could feel the tension humming through the screen, like a storm threatening to break. The Jays are clinging to the AL East lead, technically still up a game, effectively two with the tiebreaker, but the margin for error has evaporated. Every pitch matters now. Every inning feels like a referendum on the season. And then, in a moment that should have been routine, the game took a hard left turn into absurdity. Bases loaded. 2 outs. George Springer at the plate. This is the moment teams dream about and pitchers fear. Springer chops a ball down the third base line, and it hops cleanly over the bag, into fair territory, bouncing toward the left field corner like it knows exactly how much damage it's about to cause. 2 runs should score. Momentum should swing. The stadium should erupt. Instead, the umpire waves it foul, as if reality itself blinked. John Schneider storms out, disbelief written across his face, arguing not from emotion but from sheer visual fact. The problem is cruelly simple. That call cannot be reviewed. Not because there isn't evidence. Not because it's unclear. But because baseball, in its infinite stubbornness, has decided that plays directly in front of an umpire's eyes are somehow sacred and untouchable. The ball was fair. Every angle shows it. Over the bag is fair. Full stop. And yet the Jays are told to live with it. If that was the only mistake, perhaps fans would grit their teeth and move on. But baseball, much like tragedy, has a sense of dramatic timing. Moments later, Doug Eddings, a man whose strike zone has long been more suggestion than rule, rings up Springer on a pitch that missed the plate by inches. Inches. In a game of millimeters, this wasn't borderline. It was wrong. And just like that, a bases-loaded situation that should have rewritten the inning evaporates into frustration. This wasn't a slow bleed. It was a gut punch. Because context matters. That double missed call didn't just erase runs, it reshaped the entire flow of the game. Instead of Lucas Giolito wobbling, potentially unraveling, the Red Sox escape. The inning stays level. And later, when Kevin Gausman gives up a 3-run frame, it lands heavier than it ever should have. Baseball is a game of leverage, and that leverage was stolen. What makes this harder to swallow is that it's not isolated. This isn't one bad night in a long, fair season. This is the third time in a matter of weeks that the Blue Jays have been on the wrong end of game-altering officiating. Dalton Varsho's diving catch that wasn't a catch because, apparently, no one could tell if the ball touched the grass, despite it sitting securely in his glove. The baffling fan interference call. And now this. 3 strikes, all blown, all in critical moments. And that's why the whispers have started. Scandal. Conspiracy. Favoritism. Rob Manfred growing up a Yankees fan. Ratings. Market size. You've seen it all over social media. Let me say this plainly. I do not believe there is a coordinated conspiracy against the Toronto Blue Jays. I don't believe umpires wake up plotting ways to tilt divisions. What I do believe is that the current system allows incompetence to hide behind tradition, and when it surfaces repeatedly, it starts to look sinister even if it isn't. The timing makes it worse. On the same day, MLB announces that the ABS challenge system is coming next season, a system designed to correct exactly these kinds of mistakes. The Jays are burned by calls that feel like relics of a bygone era. It's almost poetic, if poetry were cruel. The league knows there's a problem. It's admitted as much. And yet teams are still being asked to swallow mistakes that directly impact standings, playoff seeding, and legacies. John Schneider handled it the only way a manager can. Calm. Measured. He said what everyone already knew. It was a fair ball. The replay confirmed it immediately. It should have been called fair. And then he moved on. Because he has to. The season doesn't pause for moral victories. The Jays woke up today 90-67, their lead slashed down to a single game, the margin thinner than a chalk line. There's a cruel irony here. The storyline should have been about resilience. About Santander returning earlier than expected because Ty France tweaked his oblique. About navigating injuries and finding answers. Instead, everything was swallowed by outrage. The game became less about baseball and more about officiating, and that should never happen at this level. And yet, for all the anger, responsibility still sits squarely in the Jays' dugout. This offense has to wake up. You cannot leave games in the hands of umpires if you want to win the AL East, let alone a World Series. Vlad needs to find his swing. The lineup needs to cash in when opportunities arise. Championship teams overcome bad calls by making them irrelevant. That's the uncomfortable truth. But acknowledging that doesn't mean fans have to accept repeated failures of officiating with a shrug. Standards matter. Accountability matters. Players are DFA'd. Pitchers are sent down. Managers are scrutinized daily. Umpires, protected by one of the strongest unions in professional sports, face almost none of that public reckoning. No explanations. No transparency. Just a quiet acknowledgement, maybe, days later. And that's what fuels the rage. Not just the call itself, but the helplessness of it all. Knowing everyone saw it. Knowing it mattered. Knowing nothing could be done. So now, the Jays move on. They have to. Garrett Crochet awaits. Another high-wire act. Another night where every pitch will feel like a referendum. The season isn't lost. Far from it. But the safety net is gone. Every misstep now echoes louder. If you're still with me, do me a favor. Like the video. Share it with a fellow Jays fan who's still fuming. Subscribe to the Blue Jays Report, because whether it's triumph or heartbreak, we're covering all of it, honestly and passionately. Let me know down below what you think. Bad luck, bad umpiring, or something darker. Vent if you need to. Baseball is beautiful, infuriating, and deeply human. And last night, it showed us all three faces at once. The Jays weren't robbed of a season. But they were robbed of a moment. And in a race this tight, moments are everything.